Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back.
Yep, and if you're joining us right now, we're just getting our first conversation started for this morning. And as we mentioned before the break, we are getting a first-hand perspective from some of the frontline workers. And this is especially important to hear from them because cases have been exploding, and we were talking a lot about that in the beginning of our show. And joining us this morning, we are going to get a first-hand experience from two nurses who are working in the COVID unit of the K.H.M.H Memorial Hospital. Joining us, we have Nurse Casilda Bowman, who is the head nurse of the COVID unit at K.H.M.H. And we also have Nurse Darcel Duran, who is also a nurse at the COVID unit at K.H.M.H. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And thank you so much for joining us. And we see that you're still look like you're dressed, ready to go. So we know that you're not. This is not a day off for you guys.
No.
So now, actually, before we start talking about the day-to-day of what's going on in the unit, can you just give sort of a reaction as you see the numbers rising like this, knowing what we've been through already, and now seeing where we're headed?
Our reaction is, it makes me feel overwhelmed. I mean, to see the numbers. I mean, I don't really get to see news as often because I'm usually at work late. But to see that we had 362 more positive cases, that makes me think, oh my gosh, the percentage of that will come to K.H.M.H that I don't have enough beds. It makes me overwhelmed, just to hear that, No, then I have to think about what am I going to do. So
As for me, well, I don't know where we will put them. We don't have space. I'm already overworked, overwhelmed with the patient that I have, and it's for me it's a real emotional breakdown when I have to deal with these patients, do the best I can, and they still don't make it. Then I go home with all this emotion and frustration on my mind. It's really hard to deal with.
Tell us a bit about, this wave started a few weeks back, and we're told repeatedly by health officials that we're not at the peak yet. We should be peaking before we start to see a decline. But we've heard reports off and on that you're at capacity and that you are actually in emergency mode at this time. Tell us about how quickly people are coming in and how this wave compares to the waves that you've seen before.
Okay, so I
Go
can
ahead.
start. Men, just to say, I mean, the amount of people are coming in. For example, yesterday we got about 7 admissions in a space of maybe 3-4 hours. So we are seeing a lot more people coming in, with more symptoms than we were seeing last year. Last year we were seeing it was coming in, but not to the capacity that it is now. At one point, one day I had 12 persons coming in COVID positive. All right, so remember we have the COVID unit and then we have the patient under investigation unit. And the patient under investigation unit was always at capacity. But now, if I have 2-3 patients under investigation, it's a lot. No, it's mostly positive patients just trickling in, coming in. And one of the things that I recognize of late is that people are coming in late. So that means that they've been experiencing these symptoms long, and then they come in at the end where it's hard for us to deal with them, because they're now at a critical stage. And that is what I have noticed for the past couple weeks. They're coming in, and then some are coming in because they're seeing the death rates climbing, but they're coming in because they're anxious. So they don't have the lot of symptoms that some other people, some other patients have, but then they come in and then we try to see everybody, all right? It doesn't even matter if it's just an anxiety attack. We come in, we will settle you in, we will do a full workup on you. I mean, like I tell you, we have some excellent doctors. They don't just let anybody go home, all right? There are some people that we send home because they really don't need to access the healthcare facilities, and sometimes people don't get that, that I'm positive and you're sending me home, but sometimes we send people home because they don't necessarily need to be there. All right, but just to answer your question, yes, like I've seen definitely a very high increase. I mean, if you look at some of our statistics, you will see that at last year, some months we were in numbers of like 26 admissions for the month, and now we are like 60 admissions for the month, which shows like a triple the numbers of patients that are coming in that are being admitted to the unit.
When you talk about people coming in more severe, what are they coming in with?
Most of them are coming in with shortness of breath, and the shortness of breath is also accompanied by a low saturation. So we try to get these people in quickly, settle in, and start our work. So most of the time when they come in, we see that they're struggling to breathe, but one of the most concerning things to us is when their saturation is falling. All right, so anything below 90, we get you in as quick as possible. All right, and then there are people who may remember, because of this high number of people coming in, sometimes we have 4 people that are positive outside, and we have to then triage and sort these patients to see who will get to be seen first. And sometimes that is worrisome to the public because they're saying, well, I'm having symptoms. And we understand that, but you're having symptoms, this person is having shortness of breath, and his saturation is falling. So while you can wait a little while, this person cannot wait. And so sometimes that is very hard for the public to hear, and then it creates a, disturbance outside when people are, very stressed, emotionally stressed, and have to react to that as well. And then of course that doesn't help the situation. So yes.
Wow.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember if I answered the question.
No, but it's just, I'm trying to think, triaging is hard.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
And when it's your baby, if it's a bad cough or anything, or if it's you, you always feel you're most important or your loved one most important. But I am taken back to beginning COVID-19 when we used to hear doctors talk about a protocol of who to treat first.
Yes.
Whose life is worth saving more.
Yes.
And it sounds like that's almost where we are with your treatment in the COVID-19 unit. It's looking at who's more severe, like who needs the most urgent care versus one that's just urgent.
Yes.
But even in the resources that are available, I mean, do you have enough ventilators for ventilated patients? Is it still kind of making those type of decisions with intensive care as well?
I think this weekend we actually had to. We were coming to that point. I mean, the good thing is we didn't have to make that decision, but we were faced with, okay, we have so many patients on a ventilator already, and then 2 more persons were crashing with 1 more ventilator available. So
Wow.
So we do face those things when we have limited resources and a lot of patients. And so that, thankfully we didn't have to make that.
Yeah.
But, we may actually have to do that at some point. I mean, we're not at the peak as yet. So that means that we may have a lot more people coming in. And so we may really need to revise our plan.
And can you also talk a little bit about the types of patients that you're seeing? Because, very early on, let's say in the pandemic, there was this belief that only very older persons would be getting severe cases and whatever. But what is your experience like in the unit?
Well, now we have a few young people. Our youngest ventilated patient is only 21 years old, unvaccinated. And so our next patients are within the 20s to the 30s. That's the youngest. So now we're seeing the young generation as well with COVID and with very complicated symptoms as well. So
Do they have comorbidities? Do they have diabetes, hypertension? Are they obese?
Some do, and to take it to another, I mean, we actually are seeing babies that are positive as well. We had a 6-month-old that was positive.
That needed hospital care?
Yes, that had to come in. So we are seeing a full range of people coming in. The younger population is coming in. We are seeing a lot of pregnant women. I don't know what is going on Like I'm floored. You don't understand. I'm floored by the amount of pregnant people that are coming in that are positive and are complicated. I mean, I think last week or the week before we were overwhelmed with the amount of deaths that we've seen, you know, and one of them being, you know, a couple pregnant women. I think for the beginning of September we had about 3 deaths, just with pregnant patients, not the rest, but just the pregnant patients. So you could imagine how that does to, you know, especially to the healthcare team. I mean, I really don't think that the population understands what is happening.
And
This is the
we spoke
physical
about-
toll. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that
Yeah.
we spoke about that sort of in the beginning of the show, talking about, you know, we see numbers from the Ministry of Health and it's statistics, but we don't, I mean, the public doesn't have the first-hand experience with the individuals. So, and you know, and I imagine, you know, their families would be concerned as well. So can you talk a little bit about what the experience, that sort of experience is like on, you know, on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so I'll let Nurse Duran share first, and then I'll go after that.
Okay, so for me, I'm hands-on with the patients in the room. In my PPE, I go in, let's say, from 8 o'clock. I spend the whole entire shift until 3 o'clock in my PPE with my patients, because I have a whole room of maybe say 6 patients. Out of these 6 patients, I have 3 ventilated, 2 high flow, 2 on normal, thus oxygen with nasal cannula, etc. So it's a lot. You don't even know when time is going, because you do your best for your patient. You're in there, you do what needs to be get done for these patients. We don't eat, we don't pee, we don't even, you know, what we need for ourselves, which is, it's tiring, it's burned out, but it's our job to do the best we can for our patients.
So you go in to a room and you don't leave for 8 hours.
Yes.
And when you say you don't eat and you don't go to the bathroom, I wasn't aware. You even have to use adult diapers because you can't be stripping out your PPE. Sorry if that's really personal, but
Yeah.
Dr. Cobb mentioned it last night and I was floored.
Yeah, well, if we don't drink water, we don't even feel the urge to
That's
use
not
the
healthy for
bathroom,
you
so-
guys.
It's not at all.
It will be a toll on us in the future
Yeah.
when our body breaks down. But
And then I've spoken to a couple of people who've lost loved ones, and I think one of the interesting things, and as you said that's what came to mind. So you have, let's say, varying levels of severity in one room. So you have people who are ventilated, people who are on high flow, and people who are getting a lower dose of oxygen. And so they see other people dying around them. And
Yeah.
it takes an emotional toll on them as well.
yeah, and I
What's
think,
that like?
well, for me, I see it happening. I see, okay, this patient is crashing and this one is a little bit stable. That's seeing this. We see it and we see how the stable ones react to it, and they get very anxious. And, you know, so we try to create a barrier between who's crashing and who's stable, so as to prevent that anxiety, because most of these stable patients, they get a lot of anxiety, which is bad for them.
If you're already having breathing problems.
So it makes it feel like they can't even catch their breath, even though they're getting this oxygen. And so we have to, okay, leave this one, calm this one down, and make sure that one is stable before we go back to that one again. And so it's a shuffle all day with these COVID patients.
How are you managing? You're a head nurse,
Yes.
and we know there's a nursing shortage. Let's be clear, there was a nursing shortage years
Way
before
before.
COVID-19. That's just where we are across the world. So you have nurses who are working 8-hour shifts in one room the entire time in PPE. And how do you use the resources that you do have? I mean, how do they get sufficient time to rest and recover and even de-stress from just the overwhelming nature of the job?
Yes, it's a good question. That's a loaded question. Let me come a little bit up more. So, managing the unit is very complex, all right? It doesn't take one person. I can't do it alone. It takes a team. I mean, the team of the workers, the heads, we all work together, all right? And I want to just emphasize some of the things, and I just want to take you through a little bit of
Okay.
how we do it, all right? So in the mornings, we try to have rungs, all right? That usually is not always something that we're able to do. Sometimes our doctors and our nurses go in, and they're in there the entire time, like Nurse Duran says, all right? So bear in mind that the COVID unit was one part, we activated a second part, then we activated a third part. So now we have the entire full emergency, and we have the COVID unit. And all of those are COVID patients, along with the front that has the patient under investigation unit. So that's just a picture of how much patients we have. So when she says 6 patients, 9 patients, that's one room. We still have 4 other rooms, big rooms left with patients, all right? So just bear that, all right? And so the nurses in that side we have to make sure we group all our things for good time management. Because we are now struggling with not having enough nurses, we have to be smart in how we do these things, all right? And so now before, we only had 2 nurses running the COVID unit, all right? So let's picture this. So we have 2 nurses with a capacity of 9 patients, maybe 3 or 4 ventilated, 2 on high flow, the rest on just oxygen, all right? 1 nurse has to go in there, deal with all those patients alone, all right? Do everything for the patients. Then the specialist would go in. Now, this is why I tell you we have such a dynamic, amazing, you guys will not understand. I think these doctors need an award, you know. Dr.
Eric
Cruz,
Bradley,
yes.
Dr. Cruz,
Yes.
tell us their names.
So Dr. Eric Bradley, he is
Who I'm
our
told
specialist.
sleeps there. He doesn't even leave the hospital.
Yes, one day we made a joke and they said that they were coming in early and they left, they come back and they say, okay, we're here, like half an hour later. You understand? And so, I mean, that's the amount of time they spend there. So Dr. Eric Bradley and Dr. Cruz, these are our specialists. These people, along with our team, I mean, remember, these are our specialists, all right? These are our specialists. They have to go in with the 1 nurse, and they will do everything for our patients. I mean, they turn physiotherapists, they turn the PCAs that help to empty the urine bag, all right? They have to recite patients. So you see how dynamic our team is. Now remember, the specialists, if you go to any hospital, no specialist will be doing these things, all right? So this is what I'm telling you, we have such an amazing team, all right? So, and with all that, they have to still stay in the unit all 7-8 hours. Sometimes now, me having to manage this amount of staff, it's hard. Sometimes I see them and I want to pull them out, but I can't. What do? I pull them out and then do what? You understand? What next?
The
patient needs to get what they need to get done. Now, this was like maybe 2 weeks ago. We have gotten some relief, but it is still, maybe now instead of having 1 person, we have maybe 2 persons inside. Because bear in mind, the next person outside has to document all 9 patients. They have to write, be the runner. They have to do everything on the outside that the person that is inside cannot do, right? So everything that they need, they have to run to get it. So bear in mind, documentation is left to the last, all right? So that's just one aspect that's one area. So no, that is not having any admission coming in. That is just
managing
what we have. Then we come and there's 5 patients waiting outside, and then the birth tells us that they're bringing 1 person, and then 3 persons come in the ambulance. Remember, we're preparing for 1 person, then 3 persons come. We have to be able to quickly make a plan, revise the plan, and figure it out, all right? And so that is just, we have to do that on a daily basis. Now, in the midst of having to look at all of that is happening, we also have to be able to recognize when a ventilated person or a person who needs to be induced to go on a machine is close to somebody who is just on a high flow. We have to be able to recognize, hey, we need to shift quickly, remember, create a barrier so that this person doesn't see it. That doesn't always happen. What happens to that person? That person then has anxiety, he becomes frightened, they become traumatized. Yeah. You understand? And it is hard. We have had patients where I can tell you have seen maybe 5 deaths within the time they're there. and so their anxiety level is extremely high. We have to figure out how can we help that person, all right? Sometimes our best fix is try to move the patient out and put the patient in a next room.
Yeah.
Then what we're doing then is putting the patient in an isolation room alone with his thoughts or her thoughts.
And fears.
So it's complex, and then we have to then manage everybody else, all right? And so, like I tell you, when we had 12 patients coming in and no beds available, it becomes crazy. I have to figure out what to do, and then I would just put a bed somewhere and get them in. So just it's hard. Resources scarce. Human resources is worse, and you guys know that we were short before. We had help for the Filipinos. They left, which made us extremely short. And but we're fighting. We're doing it. We're coming there day in, day out. Staff are working 16 hours for the day.
You said you worked 11 days straight?
Yes. Last week I worked 11 days straight, no day off, you know. It's hard. And I do it because my staff have to do it. You know, how could the manager go home and rest when the staff can't rest? You understand? I think I went there because I wanted to video call. So you guys wanted to know how we bridge the gap between our communication. So what I try to do is to video call with these patients that are not able to do it for themselves. So we do some video calls so the relatives are able to see them, see their condition. That helps them. You know, some people don't want to see it. Some people are very grateful for it.
Yeah.
So I went there, saw Dr. Kowe came in. We were extremely short. Dr. Kowe came in. He was like, okay, I'm here to help. Then I'm like, damn, I feel bad. If Dr. Kowe is here, then first I stay. And then I end up staying until 1 o'clock in the morning.
You said so much there, but let me just pick up on one thing. I interviewed one person who lost someone to COVID, and they said the nurses at K.H.M.H are angels. They literally called you angels because that video call makes a big difference to family members who can't be there. And I want to ask about that, because while you are offering medical care, you're monitoring for, you know, whether or not people are progressing in their treatment. There are 9 people in the room, but yet you find the time to ensure that you have video call check-ins with families. How do you juggle all of that?
It's a superpower, I guess. No, the thing is, it's all about management and your time management, most of all. What comes first, what goes next, what you have time to do. You look at your patient, you already could see fear in these patient eyes. These are the ones you go to and talk to. They need somebody to talk to. You talk to them, you comb their hair, you take care of them, they like that. And that's where they call you the angel. That's when you have time. You don't always have time to be coping with these patients and talking to them.
Yeah.
But it's like it must also take a toll on you as well, because you're not only taking care of the physical needs but also the emotional needs of the patient as well. So I would imagine, especially when you lose patients, it's really difficult.
Yeah. And yes, once it's really hard because these patients, most of these COVID patients are there over a long period of time, and so you get a connection with them. And when it's time for them to go, we as a nurse, we could see when we will lose them. That's where the emotions comes in, and we can't do anything else. We do our last, we do our best for them, and we watch them go. And we just cry in the bathroom and come back again.
You're human beings, and in the healthcare profession, you lose people, you see that. But what you are seeing is people fighting for their lives for such a long time and dying frequently. And what about when they're very young too? I mean, is that something that affects you even more? You said the pregnant mothers have been really taking an emotional toll on the staff. But tell us about the people who really touch you.
So that's a nervous laugh.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say.
She doesn't want to get emotional.
Okay.
All right. So, but
I understand.
the thing is that I can tell you, it is emotional for my staff, for everybody. Once I had Dr. Cruz finishing a CPR and crying in a corner because she did everything possibly could have done to save the patient and still passed. That is, I mean, I had her crying sometimes, you understand?
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to break down. She says she's not going to break down, but the general population needs to see it, you understand? But the connection that it comes from having a patient 2 weeks is a lot. You understand? We see them, we talk to them, you know, we try to cheer them up, you know, the little we can do. And then when we see them go, it's extremely hard. Extremely hard. And the thing is that what a lot of people is not recognizing is that the nurses don't have an outlet to release these emotional ties that they have, because we have to wake up and do it again.
Or move on to the next one that's critical.
Yes. And then that damage that was done then was not taken care of, not looked at, not see how we can unravel our feelings. And I'm seeing, like, because I manage, I get a lot of the emotions, whether it's positive or negative. All right. Yeah. And it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, one, you know, I definitely don't want to push you towards being emotional, because I know that you've been working hard on maintaining strength. But what you all are dealing with, there's nothing normal about it. It sounds, one, exhausting, overwhelming, and emotionally challenging. But you get up and you do it every single day. When you hear from people who are in the public talking about not getting vaccinated or COVID isn't real, what goes through your head?
I'm irritated. I think that I don't know what will it take for them to recognize. I could just give you one experience of my personal experience of mine. I could recall we're full and we have so much ventilated patients, and I have my colleague's mom in the unit. All right. She starts to deteriorate, and I get the word that we will possibly have to put her in the machine. No, because I manage the unit, I have a lot of things that is not just only patient care. All right. I could remember walking down the hall about to just break down and cry, because at this point in time I'm dealing with this colleague is close to me. All right. So he's our stores manager. So I deal with him on a daily basis, and the emotion of having such close to home, where now we imagine I have to tell him all of this. I'm going through now having one staff to work tomorrow morning. How do I figure that out? Not having enough space. I have patients waiting outside, and then I have to focus on, oh my gosh, we're going to tube this lady. I'm about to, like, literally break down. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm shaking. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to respond. What do I do next? You understand? It's a lot to deal with. It's, you know, and that's just one.
And when you meet people outside who don't want to get vaccinated, what do you tell them?
The funny thing is that it's hard for me. I don't even get to see the general population. So we come in the morning, I leave in the night. I don't get to see much people as much as I can. I try to let people understand, you know, please make sure you get vaccinated. I explain, I said, what's the fear? Tell me, let me explain it to you. I try to break it down so you understand. So I try to do that part. I don't get it to do it often because it's, we work so much, you know, you understand? We work so long hours. I don't get to see everybody. I get to see when you come in. and that's it. And I had said that I would never do press again because, of course, you know, the people are cruel. The last interview I did, I end up on fake news, and so I was like, okay, I can't do it anymore. I don't know. I have enough stress at work. Let me not even burden myself with that too, you know, because why would people think that you will lie about what I'm seeing? I'm here struggling. I can't even sleep at night. You understand? I have to take something to sleep, to turn off my brain, because I'm in the position that I'm in. I have to protect 40 people. This is my staff. I have to protect them, figure out ways in how I can better what we have. You understand? Protect them as much as I can. Come up with new solutions, how we can, you know, go forward. It's not easy. So I'm not going to put the noise out there of, you know, going on fake news. So that's why I never wanted to do media. But I recognize that I don't think people understand what we're going through. So maybe this is the best way for us to, you know, get out the information. It's, you know, COVID is real. You know, I want some of those anti-vaxxers to come and help me in the COVID unit. So.
And you know, one of the other things that was occurring to me that we haven't really even spoken about as well is, we spoke about the emotional toll it takes on you guys, but in addition to that, you all have families. So the time that you're spending, you know, the extra time I should say, is time to spend away from your loved ones as well. And of course, you know, they're dealing with the stress too. So can you talk about how that is experienced, like balancing your own personal needs and life with, you know, having to work every day under the conditions that you do?
When the first wave of COVID came about last year, we as a nurse, we had to be away from our family. They had provided a home for us to stay by ourselves, so we're not with our family at that time. And that's where the tool, where, you know, you come home from work to nobody because you have to stay isolated by yourself, to prevent your family and yourself from, you know, getting infected. And so, well, for me, my mom works at the hospital as well, but I can't even see her. I can't even say, oh, I'm going to see my mom down that side where she works, because we can't even, we as the COVID nurse can't even walk out to the other departments. And so, imagine my mom is at the same hospital as me and I can't see her. I have to only video call with her. So it's really hard. Most of these COVID patients, some of them have one vaccine, some of them have none. And we ask them, we talk to them, okay, so what happened? Why didn't you go and get your vaccine? Yes, most of them say, oh, they don't believe in the vaccine and they don't know what's in the vaccine and all these myths that they have. I recall one patient, he came in really bad and he had this fear in him, and I said, so how did you get the vaccine? Because he said he stays home alone, but he said his grandson came to see him, and his grandson was the one who had the COVID and passed it on to him. And so he was giving me his story about his grandson, and so he said, man, I can't believe my grandson brought this to me. And I tell him, well, I'm pretty sure your grandson didn't mean to bring it, but this is the thing, they're not getting vaccinated, they're going out, the younger population, they're asymptomatic, go home to their family that have comorbid condition, and this is where the older generation get it.
Do they ever say, so let's talk, because we want to be clear. The majority of our patients that are hospitalized at the K.H.M.H COVID-19 unit, because that's what you guys can speak of, are unvaccinated, no vaccinations.
The majority. And so let me clarify, because that's where I went on fake news for. So when we say fully vaccinated, it has to be the 2 dose 2 weeks after to be fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
So we've had a couple people who had gotten maybe the first vaccine and then was exposed a little bit after getting the vaccine. And we have had maybe 1 or 2 persons who, like for example, I just had a guy who had gotten his second vaccine a week ago.
Oh, so the effectivity hadn't kicked
So
in
it's
yet. Yeah.
so yes, he's fully vaccinated, but is he fully protected? You understand? So it has to be the 2 weeks after the second vaccine. So, and when we said we do, and I can say, and there is proof, there are statistics that yes, we can fully say the majority of our population that is in the COVID unit that is not fully vaccinated. All right. There are some, and that's the greater majority. There are some, I think Dr. Coy had given a statistics for August that said there were out of 60 admissions, maybe 12 persons had 1 vaccine. All right. So
Which is not a fully vaccinated
that
person.
is not a fully vaccinated person. So,
Yeah.
yes.
But I must say we do have patient that comes in fully vaccinated, but these patients don't come in critical. They
Critical.
just
I was
come in
gonna ask,
anxious and they feel like, oh, they can't breathe, and so they come to us. But these patients don't stay. They don't get critical because they're fully vaccinated. They're already protected.
So you see a difference
Yes,
in how
definitely.
their body responds to the disease if they are fully vaccinated. Yeah. Even if they have one, does it change the body's reaction, or it's not enough protection?
Oh, that's hard to say because,
Okay.
but we've seen persons who have 1 vaccination do end up dying. All right. But for the most part, I must say that the fully vaccinated persons are not staying. They're coming in a day, they're coming in 2 days, maybe just to get all they need to start some meds and then go home. All right.
How many nurses have contracted COVID-19? I know you shared your COVID-19 experience
Yes.
with us. It was back in November.
Yes, correct. To be quite honest, in the COVID unit, not many people have contracted the COVID. I can't give you a number because I can tell you we don't have time for those other stuff, which is important, but just not to the persons in the COVID unit. But yeah, I can't really tell. That would be. I will
You'd
have to
guess.
ask Dr. Bermudez because she is our epidemiologist and she is great. She has all the numbers, and she can give you the offhand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm overwhelmed talking to you when I hear what you're going through. I mean, it's one thing about talking about resources, but it's also getting people to stop spreading the disease so you aren't as overwhelmed. As of today, you said you're not at capacity as of last night.
Yes.
But you told me, well, that could change overnight.
Yeah, easily could change. I mean, yesterday we were even exploring opening our overspill area, which is a nightmare for me. You understand? Because opening a next area means giving up a next nurse that I don't have. So of course that's a nightmare for me. So I really I don't know. We are struggling with beds.
Should
All
there
right?
be, one of the things that was explored at one point in time was a COVID clinic, or I can't remember what they called it, a respiratory clinic, where the lower risk persons would go to maybe just get a low flow oxygen and be treated there. Is that something maybe that would help your COVID unit, if those who are less serious, that you triage just like you do on a regular day? If it's something that, you know, Cleopatra can handle, you send them there.
I wish you could see my smile.
Okay, I'm asking.
I mean, that was the government's plan. So that was the government's plan. We were supposed to, because we're a tertiary institution, we were to be receiving all the critically ill patients. So patients who are on just oxygen should have been able to be managed at a different location. But I don't know what happened to that plan.
But that would help, I guess, the
It
low.
would definitely help because we have a lot of patients who really just need a little bit of support, you know, so like their saturation is okay, they're having a little bit of distress, so giving the oxygen would give them some comfort, you know, let them go through that little anxiety attack that they're having. The clinics, I think, would have been able to handle it, but I know that they're also overwhelmed with having to swab everybody. The amount of contact tracing they're doing is crazy, you know, and so they're overwhelmed. So I don't want to say, okay, well, they should be doing it.
Yeah,
because I
it's
know
not
they
that they're
have
not
their,
working. They're
yeah,
very
'cause
busy
they
too.
do have
Yeah.
their own, and I know that they are also overworked as well. But we would definitely benefit from that little area where we can put our very mild cases separate. I think that would help us a lot.
Do you ever get unvaccinated persons speak of regretting not getting the vaccine while in the unit?
Majority of them.
What do they say?
They say that if I only recognize that this would have happened, I would have done it. You know, the older persons, I understand them because half of them that comes in, it was
don't go
brought to them at home. You know, I had a person who was a year and a half at home, not going out because she was protecting herself. Somebody comes in and then she's exposed and she dies. So, and these are a lot of what we're seeing, and I don't know the general population is not understanding. So listen, my thing is, if you had asked us a question just a minute ago about asking how we balance it, I haven't found a way to balance it as yet. And to be honest, I have not found a way yet, because all I do when I go home is I just want to sleep. Because literally I go home to wake up to come back to work. So I have not found that balancing act yet. And I have friends who say, oh, you to work hard, just make a go for a drink. And I would want to go for a drink, but guess what? I have a responsibility as a nurse, as the manager of the COVID unit, to say, listen, this is the one thing that we're fighting against. Not going out, not socializing, not doing these things that can create some sort of spread. And then that would look so irresponsible for me to go there, have a drink, and you know, what's funny COVID nurse she? Actually, she want to go up and open her eyes and tell you how you suffer.
And you
but
know
she
how we stand.
So you understand? And then, so I don't know, like I really would want, I don't know, like I keep on asking, like we need some media for come in. I have to watch one person yesterday gasping because she's refusing to go on the ventilator. I have to watch that person gasp.
They refuse the ventilation.
Refuse the ventilation. So she's going, she's dying. But we have to, do you understand the level of trauma that is occurring by just us watching that?
Do you get access to mental health services?
We're looking into that. You know, my Dr. Bradley, Dr. Cruz, we got together and we recognize that we need help. I'm not even going to lie to you. I can see emotional nurses. So how we handle stress, it's two ways.
Yeah.
We get very emotional or we get very aggressive. And these are all that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
All right. And so because I'm seeing this, of course, as you guys, I specialize in mental health, right? I did psychiatry.
Yeah.
And so of course I was able to recognize it very early. And so we came together to see how we can help these nurses because we need help.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to unravel what we're seeing, what we're doing. And eventually the result of all of this will be long-term problems for the nurses. You could imagine being in a PP for 8 hours, not eating, not drinking, not being able to go to the bathroom. What the
Every
result
day,
of that?
for 8 hours.
Every day. Sometimes for more than 8 hours. Like I remember a staff going in 2 p.m., coming out 10 o'clock the night to drink some water. She drank two bottles of water, went back into the PPs and finished the rest of stuff that she had to do for her shift. And that because she was working from morning. You see what I mean? The level that is happening, we're going to be fatigued. Like I told them that I'm getting tired. I've been in this from the beginning. I'm getting fatigued. I don't know. I am snapping. at this point in time. You understand? Like I'm getting very aggressive. So I could recognize what the stress is doing to me. All right. So I have to try to talk myself through not shouting at this point in time.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
And we are just about out of time
Yeah.
for the segment. So,
Yes.
we do appreciate you coming in and sharing the experience because, a lot of people, like you said, they don't know. And even you being here, I mean, it's giving us it's like maybe a snapshot, but, seeing what you see every day is really, we can't even imagine it. So, is there any, let's say, final thought or thing that you would like to express maybe to our viewers just before we close?
I'd like to tell my viewers, those unvaccinated, to please go and get your vaccine. I cannot emphasize it anymore. You've seen the numbers, you've seen the deaths. Please, I'm begging you guys.
And so, guys, I want the viewers to understand this is not a campaign to push vaccine. All right? You are entitled to your rights, but you're also entitled to protect the people you love. Whether that means in a form of a vaccine, whether in forms of decreasing our social gatherings. I am so annoyed going around, like when I'm driving home or so, people are gathering. I'm like, somebody just died and you're out here, you don't recognize what you're doing, what you're putting, the burden that you're putting on other people. You understand? So be safe, keep on your mask, social distance, wash your hands as much as you can. And if you are led to be vaccinated, get vaccinated. Don't wait. Don't let it be that, oh man, I would have gotten it next week. And I will give you a personal example. My mom, so of course, I'm upset
Yeah.
because I told her, listen, you don't go out, but there's the other people who bring it to you. She did not get vaccinated. After I spoke to her, she was, okay, yes, I'm going to do it. She got COVID. The same week she was going to get vaccinated. And I'm sure she's going to kill me for this. But you understand that.
How is she doing?
She's okay. I mean, she is fortunate because she has hypertension, diabetes. She could have been the person that I lose. You understand? But, don't wait. Because like her, she made up her mind the week, and the same week she got COVID. So please guys, don't wait. Don't put it off another day. Get vaccinated. It's important. It's important for the people you love. Important for yourself.
Yeah. Ladies, thank you. And I don't mean for just being here, but for what you have been putting yourselves through for the past year and a half. It is a profession that is for people who are called to serve, and you are going above and beyond. We appreciate you. I do know that Dr. Sosa has mentioned that there are ways people can help you. They can send warm meals. They can help you to take care of some of those things in between. I know it does very little.
Yes.
To deal with the physical and emotional toll that you're taking on, but just little thoughtful gestures will go a long way as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
And with that, we are going to be taking a short break, and we are going to be speaking about, we're going to continue our conversation about health in Belize, but from a different perspective, and right after the break. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.